Am I going to sneeze? Feels like I'm going to sneeze. I guess not. That's the worst. Anyway. Hey everybody, my name's Gabe Giannis, and if I hated you, you would know. Hey, welcome to this issue of If I Hated You, You Would Know. Today's probably going to be just like another regular one with just me talking about some different things. This episode I'm going to talk about a conversation that I had with my dad that was kind of about faith and just kind of about, I think in a lot of ways getting old, but get to that. Probably talk a little bit about productivity and like just art. And then I'm going to talk about a little, I guess not necessarily a project, but like just an idea that I saw in another video that I'm trying to utilize and I thought was really cool. So, we'll get to that in a little bit. So, be right back. So in between cuts, I went and started a pot of coffee. And so part of me wants to apologize for how long that took. But I'm just going to... So really the only person I'm apologizing to is myself for having to fast forward more in the edit, which is hilarious to me. I don't know. Anyway, so my dad happened to be in town this week. One of his close, longtime friends has been very ill. And there was some indication that he might not live, through the weekend. So my dad and his wife came down to visit him because, they're friends and he wants to be sure to have the opportunity to say goodbye if he has that chance. So he came and did that. But I had the opportunity to sit with him and just kind of chit chat for breakfast and just have a good, conversation with him about stuff. And I mean, it's, my dad's 77 and on top of that, he's here to visit his friend that's about to pass away. So I think my dad was in a very pensive state and he really wanted to just kind of talk about some stuff that I thought was cool. But one of the things we really got into a discussion about that was very interesting was just kind of about faith. And I have a very complicated history with my personal religion and the way I believe. And I have a very complicated history, I think, with my family in a lot of ways because of that. Because they are very, dedicated Catholics, and I am just not anything close to that, right? And, there was some joking, about, I was baptized Catholic, so I'm Catholic, blah, blah, blah. If you're born to it, you die it. There's no escaping, you're part of the team. You got the holy water blessing. So, but it was, I think, my dad talked about how he was, how he's on a prayer team, right? Anyway, he's talking about how he's on a prayer team, hilariously enough at his Lutheran church. But that he feels like, a remnant like this. He still does his prayers every day. He still sits down and, he's a stalwart of the faith. And I think that's an awesome feeling to have, right? This notion that you are holding on to something that's important, something that bolsters you, but something that you feel is also lifting other people up. That sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself is absolutely fundamental, I think, to everybody's life. I just don't require that be a deity. For me, that greater good that I'm aspiring to aid is just my fellow man, and that's okay. That's where we have a difference of opinion. But I do think it's interesting how, so right now there's a lot of talk about Catholicism, about the Pope, especially because of the way the president has interacted with him and this notion that the Pope is just another kind of political or leader figure. But with all of the bad that the Catholic Church has caused and all of the good that the Catholic Church has caused, the one thing that it has done is it has remained, right? In the same way that my dad feels like he's like this last bastion of like true faith, the Catholic Church feels that way about itself, right? That it's like this stalwart, that it's this fortress against like the wrongs that are happening in the world. Whether that's true or not, I think is largely irrelevant as long as that sense is motivating them to like help people. And I think in the long and short of it, there's probably kind of a break even where the bad they've caused and the good they've caused is probably a bit of a wash. But when it comes to like individual mindset, I think I see more people of faith that are willing to engage in helping people than aren't. And I'm not making a comparative thing where I'm saying people that aren't of faith, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying that people that exist like within some kind of faith tradition tend to be more inclined to help out people selflessly. And that, I think, is the benefit of faith, right? That believing in something bigger than yourself should encourage you to serve those other people that are also a part of like that grand design, that creation that, you know, you so deeply believe in. It seems counterintuitive to me, and it almost always has, like, except for when I was really, really young, it has always seemed counterintuitive to me that any individual religion should endeavor to tear down a different religion. Because in the end, all it seems to be about is how do we treat other people with empathy and kindness. There are dramatic and horrible overlays to those basic tenets. And like, I think we have a mentality to like orientalize a lot of religions. And I use that word like very specifically, that kind of like exotification of like religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, where we think to ourselves that they are these like deeply peaceful and humble religions, you know, the namastes and the meditation like mindset, right? But that is picking and choosing in the same way that like a Christian picks and chooses like scripture, or a Jew picks and chooses like, you know, Talmudic thought versus Zionism, right? Like there's so much nuance and scope to these massive like worldwide religions that the one that's closest to us we see the worst in, and the one that's furthest away from us we see like the best in, right? So like Christianity at its root is a part of a series of Abrahamic religions that include Judaism and Islam and Baha'i. And like, because they are so close to each other, they all reject each other in general, right? But you see people that are engaged in Christian thought that will give like a spiritual deference to the philosophy of Buddhism, even though there is a deep religious bent to a lot of Buddhism, and there has been a lot of horrible things predicated in the name of that religion, in the same way that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism have, right? I mean, biblically, the Jews are, you know, perpetuators of genocide. We see that today. We see Christians do it in the past. We see Muslims doing it in the past. And today we see Christians doing it today, bombing everybody, right? It's just that the wars that are happening right now largely involve that segment of people. So we haven't seen the like overwhelming, you know, angst that's happening in like India and Pakistan, this fight between, in a lot of ways, Hinduism and Islam, right? So this tendency to like exotify things that are different than us and like really disparage the things that are closer to us. Like, I think we lose the plot a lot of the time that religion is this thing that we've created to explain the things that we don't understand, but it's also something that we use to like give us a reason to be kind to people that we wouldn't instinctively be kind to, right? I think most of the scriptures that run the gamut of like all of the major world religions have a component of being kind to the stranger, like being, what's the word I'm looking for? Like having an open door, right? Being the kind of person that invites in instead of pushes away, right? That exists like pretty much within the tenets of every major religion. And I really think the purpose of that is to help us create like bonds, right? To help us create bridges where we can say, even though I don't believe the way you believe, one of the things I deeply believe is that my hospitality is a reflection of my deity, right? So remove the spiritual, the metaphysical, the mythological element, and what lesson is left behind? I should treat a person that I don't agree with, that I'm not close to, that maybe I feel is fundamentally different than me, with the kind of empathy and kindness that they deserve. Because like me, they are a human. And we're left to this point where the only thing that can change or solve or fix any of the chaos and mayhem that's happening right now is individuals making the choice to stop. I don't put a lot of faith in like political leadership to make that choice on any side of any aisle in pretty much any country. But I do put faith in individuals. We see that. We see politicians that just say, that's enough, I'm done. And more of them need to do it. But in my day-to-day life, I get to make that choice too. If I see the person that is wearing the dog whistle hat or, says something awful, I have an opportunity to choose to either build a bridge with that person or be cruel. And in spite of being an irreligious human, I choose to not be cruel. I'm going to keep trying to choose to build bridges. I mean, I make mistakes. Some guy kind of pushed his car, sped up a little bit towards Cody in a crosswalk while they were going through a roundabout and we were trying to cross the street, and I yelled at him. I chose cruelty in that moment. I made the wrong decision. But everybody makes mistakes. All I can do is figure out how to be better next time, right? All I can do is figure out how to improve. And all I can hope is that the people that are meant to represent us figure out that they need to learn to be better, that sitting on their hands forever is not going to solve anything. We got to do the hard work of sitting down with each other and going, okay, what's the problem? How do we fix it? And while we might disagree on it, at least we can make progress towards fixing the problem. And there's lots of problems. So I guess when it comes down to it, a lot of it was my dad trying to express to me that you still believe the same way you used to. So clearly you're still a Christian. You just don't want to say it out loud. No, I'm not, because I don't believe the same way I used to, because I used to believe that people that were different from me would burn in hell, and that it was really, really important for them to change their mind about what they believed, or they would burn in hell. I just don't believe that anymore. What you believe in doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is if you have a problem I can help with. If you have a problem I can't help with, then I mean, I'll do my best to help you find the person that can help you or something. But as far as like who you believe is in charge of the universe, it just doesn't matter. And I don't personally think it's real. I can't prove otherwise, but it's not my job to. It's just my job to be myself and to help as many people as I can and to do my best to build bridges. So I'm trying that, right? I'm doing these things. I'm having this conversation. I'm having the interviews, which there are some coming up. I don't want to like announce anything, but working on stuff. My dad will probably be one of them, hopefully. I keep encouraging him to do it. But a few other people, like, and my mom too, is coming up. That'll be fun. But I don't know. Just my faith isn't in a God. My faith isn't even in myself, right? I don't believe in myself. That's probably a fair way to say that. My faith is that small decisions to choose empathy and kindness over cruelty and division will change things and has been changing things for millennia, right? I did talk with my dad about this theory that I have. Our world is not perfect, is very chaotic, is very dangerous. People can die. People do die. People are tortured and murdered and raped and all sorts of horrible things. But in general, it does seem as though the world gets easier to live in, more comfortable. We have more opportunities and we learn and we grow and we develop when we set our minds to eradicating each other, right? Think Iran, think Gaza, think Ukraine, think Afghanistan, Vietnam. I saw this really funny video of this guy singing a song that went, "Dear United States, thank you for replacing the Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. And thanks for going to Afghanistan and replacing the Taliban with the Taliban. And thanks for going to Vietnam and replacing the communists with the communists." It just cracked me up. But that's besides the point. When we set our minds to like eradicating each other, we always fail at it, right? Like you can't kill an idea. You can't kill an ethnicity, right? Like even if let's say I were able to kill every single Muslim in the world, you don't think that book is going to convert somebody the next time it's read? Same story, Jew, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist. Like you can't kill ideas. Like you can't bomb an idea out of existence. When we set our minds as like a collective to destroying each other, we like universally fucking fail at it. Right? Like you can't do it. It's impossible to truly like eradicate like an idea. When we set our minds to accomplishing great things, we fucking shoot people to the other side of the moon and back safely. And they came back fine. And we're going to do it again. If we change the trajectory of like where our collective energy goes, if we as individuals decide, you know what, I'd rather go to the moon than blow up Iran, we can do big things. And I'm sure there's people that are like, well, we did both. Did we? Moonshot, success. Iran war, not success. It's gotten worse because of this idea that we can like bomb people into believing something different. I just change our mindsets, guys. Like it's not that hard. It's not that hard to, when you see somebody that you just despise, go, God, I hate Jim Bob. I'm going to say Jim Bob because I don't know any Jim Bobs. I hate Jim Bob. Well, what can I do to help him? Like, he's such a miserable prick. What can I do to make him less miserable today? And I know you're imagining someone. You're imagining your own Jim Bob. I'm imagining a Jim Bob. His name's just not Jim Bob. Oh, man. Just change the mindset, right? Like, fundamentally, it seems so simple, but, I mean, it took me decades to change mine. Oh, man. And as a Christian, I was kind of the miserable prick, so I don't know. It was a really good conversation. And I think I don't want to be the last stalwart of like believing in humanity. Fuck that. That's the coalition we should be building. Is people from everything saying, what can I do to help? How can I step in? And there's organizations that are like that, like think Red Cross, Red Crescent, just volunteer organizations made up of people that just want to help. And there's so much of that in the world, and it all gets totally ignored because we're too busy looking at AI pictures of Trump Jesus. Oh man, what a stupid week it's been. Anyway, yeah, just a good conversation with my dad about faith. I have faith in you. Like, I don't need to have faith in a God. I believe in you. Like, we can do it. You can do it. I think that's it. Anyway, I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Wish me luck. I'm using some new equipment today. I got a new, you can see it right there. It's a Hollow & Lark A1. They're these little wireless mics, and basically I really wanted to get it because like the audio quality for the interviews is like just such hot garbage, but like being able to like, mic up, two people separately with the little kit that you get, and it's like really relatively inexpensive. Hopefully the sound quality for this doesn't dip. I'll figure some of that stuff out, but not using AI. Anyway, so my PlayStation broke, right? Like, I'm in the midst of like, I put like 150 hours into like Crimson Desert. Like, I'm fully hooked. Like, I love the game, etc., etc. But then I went to turn it on. The screen blanked a couple times, and like the HDMI port went out. Like, and I did tests. I tested, in separate ports on my TV, and I tested with separate like HDMI cables, and I did all the troubleshooting stuff. I don't suck. Like, I'm not that old. But I'm going to have to get it repaired. And obviously I'm getting it repaired because it's like a $150 fix instead of a friggin' $700 PlayStation, because they went up in price, a trend that I absolutely hate in consumer electronics. Excuse me. But the point I'm trying to make is Crimson Desert's gone. So I have all this spare time, and I had this moment where I was like, oh shit, like I probably waste like way too much time playing video games, which, hey, what you do to relax, I'm not shaming you. I like, if video games is your deal, awesome, because it's one of mine too. But I also have like all these things in my brain that I want to do, like scripts that I want to write and art that I want to create and all this stuff. And then poof, the thing that like is the major time sink in my brain is just like gone, right? So yesterday is my day off. I have like all this, I want to take my PlayStation to go get it fixed. And in my brain, it's like a 1-day fix, right? Like, I'm going to take it in. Some guy's going to be like, oh, yep, you got a jiggly HDMI port, jiggle, solder, PS5 fixed. No. So took it to the first place. It's a house, and like then I didn't want to just walk up to the house, so I tried calling the guy and he didn't answer, and so I just was like, okay, like I'll go to the next electronics repair place. And like admittedly on their Google thing, this place said that they repair consoles. But I went and they don't. So he sent me to like another place, and like also like I've had to leave my city and go to a different city. And then from that city, I had to go to like a third city. And they're all like kind of medium-sized northern Colorado cities, Greeley, Loveland, Fort Collins. It's kind of like a tri-city area. They're all within like, 45 minutes-ish of each other. But like it ended up being a lot of driving. Also, I hate the fact that yesterday gas was like $3.59 pretty much everywhere in town. And it's $3.99 everywhere today. And I should have filled up yesterday. Totally besides the point. So I cruise around all over. And I finally find a place that, will take my PlayStation in to fix it. But they don't have like the tools there. So they send it out to somebody who fixes it and send it back. That can take a week to a week and a half. So I have two problems. No Crimson Desert for a week and a half. And it's also how I watch television at night. Like largely YouTube and, trashy movies and stuff. So I go home, I dig out my old Amazon Fire Stick. Like I said, it has to do like 1,000 updates because I haven't used it in like 2 years almost. I log back into my YouTube and my Netflix and all that. I also realized that it has the Canopy app, which the PlayStation doesn't have, but can't recommend Canopy enough. If you know what Hoopla is, Hoopla is like almost like a combination of like Kindle and Audible, but through your library card. So you can get like digital books and audiobooks with your library card through Hoopla. But Canopy is effectively the same thing, but with film and television. Watched City on Fire last night. Absolutely incredible Richard Lamb movie with Chow Yun-fat. Like hands down one of my favorite Hong Kong action films. And like the way those things were made was crazy. I'll probably talk about that some other time, but I'll probably watch like 3 or 4 of those Hong Kong movies and then talk about a bunch of them at once. But, so I did that, got everything going so that I can watch TV, et cetera, et cetera. But that like took an hour of like my day off. Like admittedly driving around all over the place took quite a bit of time too, but like it's barely like, it's barely like 11 in the morning. And, I have like, this time I would have sunk into Crimson Desert and like, or the video, but most of the time I like to do those first thing in the morning, like I'm doing right now, on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. And I had spent most of my morning driving around. So I dove into like my projects, right? The art projects that I've been working on forever. Like I have some paper mache stuff that I'm doing, and I really just like went into them. And I'll do some B-roll footage of like what I got finished up like over the last, couple days here in this video. But, using that time to like do my art, man, it felt so much more satisfying. And I had this moment where I was like, oh shit, like, I like playing video games. They're really fun. They feel really satisfying. But in the long and short of it, like I don't really, there's no end product, right? Like I haven't made something, like I don't have something I can show people that I'm proud of. I mean, there is that, like I can take screen caps or I can, I've thought about live streaming here and stuff like that. So in general, like the video game is just kind of like sunk time. Like it's something that I pour my time and energy into, but I don't really get like much out of it besides just enjoyment, which is a fair trade-off. And I'm not denying that, but maybe I look at making sure that one of my days off is like specifically not for video games. And take a drink. I might leave that in there as like the NPR joke. Oh, let's do it. Let's do it right now. Today on If I Hated You, You Would Know, we'll be talking about the trade-off of time management when it comes to video games versus doing our art. Right back after the break. Sorry, that entertained the shit out of me. It's totally... Get another sip and then move fucking forward. God, my brain is stupid some days. I can't cut that out because now I've done a whole bit. So, anyway. I got so much done. Like, I got a lot done on a big project. I even talked to one of my friend Steve, about like how I drill paper mache. I know, weird question, but like some of the different types of bits and how they work. And like I went over to his house, and like it's very funny because he was over at our house for Dungeons and Dragons, and I opened a drawer that's full of like mini canvases and like bottles of acrylic paint. And he was like, huh, fucking art people with their dumb art supplies just hiding in every nook and cranny. And then that's my voice for him. He doesn't sound anything like that. And I go over to his house, and his whole basement is full of like woodworking tools. And I said to him, here, I'll do a voice for myself. You know that like, this is just your arts and crafts shit, right? All right. So now I don't feel as guilty for making a voice for him. And he was like, yeah, it's fair. That's a fair assessment of the situation. But, you know, he sent me home with like a sack full of like different kinds of drill bits and stuff like that. And I was able to like drill holes in these like paper mache skulls that I've made. And like, you'll see in the video, like what, you know, how the end project ended up being. But having that opportunity, having that time, I was able to like really puzzle out like how I wanted the project to finish. I really got to think about like what I wanted to do, like next steps that I'm taking on this other paper mache project that I'll probably work on a little bit more tonight before I like film it for this. So there's a lot of time and effort that I was able to put into something that like was creative, right? And that's so much more satisfying. And I am satisfied with like the accomplishments I have in video games. You are doing something, like you are working towards a goal. And, you know, a lot of people complain about the story in Crimson Desert. I'm actually not hating it because it's just kind of boilerplate fantasy stuff, and I like that. But in general, like I'm engaging with a world, a story, like a simulation that is allowing me to experience something that I can't experience in my everyday life. Like I don't get to go fight bandits with a sword, right? That's not something I do. But the tactile nature of like actually creating something and like working through art and with my hands and like doing something that when I'm done, like there's something that I've made is more satisfying. So what does that look like? How do I manage that going forward? I have that fun ass ADHD where like, if it's easier, I will default to it. So how do I think to myself, like Mondays are for art, right? Like what if I'm just this day or this time block, or how do I make my time work for me? How do I actually like schedule out what I want to do? So I'm going to do some of that and like really think through it. To express that, I probably will start to like live stream some of like my art times and make it regular so that like, I know I've talked about how I don't want this to become an obligation, but if I keep it regular, then it becomes like regular, and it doesn't have to be something where it's just me by myself. Like it can be like me working on my art, like here, like, you know, surrounded by, you know, friends and family and stuff. So I'm going to probably figure out a time to like just schedule art jams. And it'd be really cool if you came too and you were doing art, right? And you could share something. I don't know how that works. So I'm going to look into doing stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm going to devote more time to art, especially now that it's becoming summer, because a lot of my stuff kind of cools off in the winter, because the paper mache stuff that I do like really works best if like I can put it in like a hot, dry environment to dry. And in the summertime, that's my front porch. So that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, that's about all I got on that. So I'll be back in a second. All right, welcome back. So last thing I want to talk about, obviously zines are very exciting to me. Like, I present this as like a zine, like a video zine. Like I absolutely love the medium. Like I've been obsessed with it since high school. Like basically since I learned what a zine was, I've kind of loved them. Things I don't love, social media, my phone, like I hate it, right? Like, and that's probably like kind of like some old man Luddite sort of like mentality where like I used to love this idea of like hanging out on the phone with my friends and like talking. I like talking. Like, I'll have like a 2 hour conversation with you on the phone, but not anymore. Like, I don't like having phone conversations anymore. I like having conversations, you know. But our phones are like this attractant, right? They're constantly like dinging at us and beeping at us. They're like slot machines. They want us to go back. They want us to look and look and look and look and look. Like, that's the point of it. It's to like keep us engaged, keep us monetized, keep us like churning the wheels for like our corporate overlords so that they keep making money based on like our algorithms, right? And I am like a culpable participant in that. Me, yeah, I got off of social media a while ago. Like, I've stopped using Facebook. I don't really think I ever actively use Twitter very well. I participate on Reddit very occasionally just because it's the brand of like upset old internet that I enjoy in some ways. But like, no Instagram, no TikTok, none of that. Like, even this, like, I did have a Substack that was intended for this, but I haven't used that for a long time because it just kind of devolves into people like arguing and siloing and just like separating, right? It's just like about people like pushing themselves apart, like intentionally. And it doesn't feel good to me. I don't enjoy it. YouTube has always felt a little more collaborative. Yeah, the comments can be really nasty, and eventually I'm sure I'll run into a lot of that, but it doesn't seem the same because I just don't participate in comments like on videos very often. I think it'd be different if I was getting a lot of them, but even then, like, I don't know how important it would be to me. So with that, I try to avoid using my phone quite a bit. Like, and I have found that I tend to just immediately look at my phone if there's nothing going on, whether that be like pulling up Ground to like look at the news or pulling up YouTube to like see what, you know, latest video from my favorite content creators has dropped, or, you know, even just like dorking around on like some random time waste game, right? I used to like always carry a book with me to like kind of help dissuade me from that, but I've gotten away from the habit, right? So a couple of days ago, I was, you know, on YouTube as I want to be, and a video came across my feed, and I pulled it up, called "Replacing Your Phone is Easy When It Feels Punk," by a guy named Struthless. He's an Australian YouTuber with like 1.5 million followers or something like that. And he talks a lot about mental health and like addiction recovery. And he belongs to like kind of like a mindset that I tend to relate to really well. Like, people that are trying to find ways to like almost separate themselves from like the routines that they know are like holding them back from stuff. And what he proposes is, you know, first he goes through a lot of the reasons why like our phones are not really that great for us. You know, they do have an enormous amount of like addicting properties, and they exhibit a lot of the same tools, they use a lot of the same tools that like casinos use to basically create like a mental framework where you feel compelled to look at your phone all the time. Because the idea is that if you're looking at it all the time, then you're engaging with something all the time. And if you're engaging with something all the time, you're constantly creating revenue. You know, like, how many more hours can I put into Crimson Desert? Like, if I keep engaging, then the company can say, look how many people are engaging, look how much it is, please give us money for our next game, like, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's this constantly like churning wheel of like capitalist intent, right? Like, it wants you to make it money, right? That's what our black box is for. I want to not participate in that as much as I possibly can. There's a Crime Think essay that I read probably 15 years ago called Hypocrisy, and like talks about how unavoidable it is for anybody that wants to like step outside of like a capitalist system, because we have to engage it for our survival a lot of the time. But we can choose what level we want to engage it at. And we can like strive to engage with it less and less and less over time. And I really think to myself actively, how can I engage with this system less and less over time? Impossible task, I think, right now, but I'm doing my best. And part of that is about not staring at my phone constantly, not constantly engaging in the churn, in the algorithm. Sorry, hopefully that doesn't sound too crazy. Oh man, my shoulder. So, what Struthless proposes is this. Ta-da! It's a little phone zine. So, through a pretty simple process, you can take like one sheet of paper and you can turn it into a zine. Matter of fact, we're going to do it right now. All right, so I have my piece of paper. I fold it in half. This won't be the neatest one. I fold it in half again. And then I believe, so I went like that in half. And I tilted it like that. And then we're going to go one more time like that. All right. So you now have these 8 quadrants, right? And fold it in half like this. Cut along the seam like that, right? When we open it up, right, we can kind of push this together so it makes like a little T. Fold the seams down. All right, so you squished, right? So, sorry. So you went here, cut there, folded it back in half, squished it together, and then just folded it, right? So from here, you just folding. These videos always drive me crazy, so, right? And now you have your own little phone zine, right? And the idea is that now that I have mine, when I want to open up my phone, when I want to spend some time just staring into the nothingness, the black void of the black box, instead, I rubber band the zine to my phone, make sure I have a handy dandy thing with me every day. And instead of immediately unlocking my phone, jot down a couple ideas, whatever I'm thinking about, maybe what I want to look up, why I'm doing it, something that's interesting. Struthless has one that you can print out on his page, and I'll put a link to the video in the description down here. But he has one that you can print, and on that printout, there's like writing prompts. So there's a lot of fun ways to do it. And what it does is it takes you out of the moment, right? It breaks the cycle. One of the most important things about addiction is finding ways that when you have the craving, you break the cycle of addiction, right? You find something to step in the way of the craving. Like some people do it in really unhealthy ways. Like they take on a new addiction. You know, some, like my dad, when he quit smoking, he started eating lollipops and then he put on like 10 pounds, right? So there's those kind of things. But this, in the trade-off, is less phone time for more creativity. Like that feels like a super win-win for me. So it's something I'm trying to engage with. I did really good with it on Friday. I didn't do it at all over the weekend, and I kind of felt it because every time I logged into my phone and just immediately pulled up YouTube and started like running something in the background, I was like, oh man, I was just thinking about this one thing. I probably should have written it down, right? And with my ADHD, like it creates like these thought storms, right? And this is perfect for that too, because it gives me something ready that I can like write into. And it's not an app. I don't have to unlock my phone and no, or the swipey thing, which I'm terrible at too. I can just do the thing the way I'm used to, just pen to paper, write it out. And then at the end, just like trading off Crimson Desert for paper mache, in the end, you have this really cool thing that you've made. You might not think it's cool, but somebody else will. Like, there's always somebody that thinks your thing is cool. So, anyway, that's pretty much it, I think, for this week. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, so I think today is mostly about just go out and do, right? Be creative. Make art. Do something beautiful. Help somebody out. Like, I think we've all spent enough time. Like, man, COVID gave us a lot of time to sit around and do nothing. Sitting around and doing nothing seems weird now. Even though I love it. I love just watching a movie. I love just playing a video game. I love something that doesn't have an end result other than enjoyment. That's fine. But, like, I really need to create. Like, and I don't know that everybody feels that, but I think you do. Like, I think that's the thing that makes us distinct from most animals. I would say with the exception of, like, a lot of apes. Like, there's a lot of evidence that we share many similar thought patterns, especially with, like, bonobos and stuff like that. But I think the thing that really distinguishes us from the other living creatures around us is our desire to create stuff, to tell stories, to transmit messages. Like, ours is a history of finding ways to tell somebody how you think and feel, right? Whether that's the invention of writing or drawing, storytelling, movie making, YouTube. It's all just us trying to convey our messages. And that's not something that the other creatures on our planet do in the same way. And I think that's what makes us unique. So get out there and do something. It's worth it. Yeah. You'll probably like yourself and the people around you more. Past that, my name's Gabe Yanis. I'm not that interesting of a guy. I'm just interested in interesting things. And if I hated you, you would know.
Thank you for replacing the Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. Thank you for replacing the Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. Thank you for fighting 20 years and replacing the Taliban with the Taliban. Shame and protest fell on deaf ears. You even left your weapons to the Taliban. What a blend! Thank you for replacing the Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. Thank you for replacing the Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. Thank you for fighting in Vietnam and replacing the communists with the communists. Thank you for going to Korea. Now the country is split and one has nuclear. But it's always just the same. We now know the game. It's always just the same. There's always one to blame. What about Iraq? No WMD. What about Libya? No more Gaddafi. What's happening in those countries? Thank you for replacing the Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. Thank you for replacing the Ayatollah Khomeini with another Ayatollah Khomeini. Have a banana.
Hey!